You know, not every form failure is a CAPTCHA failure. And treating it that way, well, it can quietly and quickly waste your budget. Hey everyone, welcome to This Explainer. If you're running form automation at scale, there is a silent budget killer that's probably lurking in your code right this second. It's called the validation loop. We've all seen it happen. Your script is cruising along perfectly, it hits a snag, and instead of gracefully handling the error, it just blindly throws more CAPTCHA solves at the wall hoping one sticks. Today we're going to break down exactly why this happens, how to spot it, and more importantly, how to build reliable automation that actually protects your wallet. Let's get into it.
Here's our roadmap for this explainer. We'll be looking at the costly validation loop, classifying your form failures, fixing data before resolving, retry limits and metrics, common mistakes to avoid, and we'll wrap up with some FAQs and a final takeaway.
All right, part one, the costly validation loop. Let's define what we're up against.
Okay, so here is a super common, yet incredibly flawed production loop. Step 1, your automation solves the CAPTCHA. Awesome. Step 2, it submits the form. But then, step 3, the server spits back a basic error, something like, I don't know, invalid email format, or maybe a missing required field. The page reloads. Step 4, your automation, completely oblivious to what just happened, just solves another CAPTCHA. And if that form data is still wrong, step 5, repeat, solve, submit, fail, resolve, repeat. It just spins its wheels, absolutely chewing through your API credits.
Now that wasteful validation loop treats a CAPTCHA solve like some kind of magic bullet. It's super fragile. Reliable automation, on the other hand, it's way more holistic than that. You actually need a bunch of things working together seamlessly. Valid form data, a fresh token, the correct submission timing, safe retry logic, and a clear final success signal. It's the whole shebang, not just the solve.
Moving on to part 2, classify your form failures.
Look, you absolutely have to stop treating every single failed response as a CAPTCHA problem. It's just not. There are really 6 distinct failure categories you need to be watching out for. Is the block happening client-side, like before the data even leaves the browser? Is it server-side? Was the CAPTCHA actually rejected? Did the network just drop? Did the page do a full reload? Or did you just get some weird, unexpected response? Every single one of these scenarios demands a completely different reaction from your code.
Let's make this actionable, because this is absolutely crucial for managing your tokens. Say client-side validation blocks your submit. Well, that token might never have even reached the target server. That means it's still valid. If it's under 120 seconds old, you can literally just reuse it. Do not pay for another solve. But if the server actually kicks back a validation error, that token was likely consumed by the backend check. It's expired. You got to resolve. And if the page does a full reload on an error, bam, that's a brand new page context. Your old token is toast. You must re-extract the details and resolve.
So lock this number in your brain right now, 110 seconds. Token age is huge. You should be tracking exactly when your token was created and when it was actually submitted. If your token is pushing 110 seconds old before you even hit the submit button, you're solving way too early. Seriously, do not let that token just sit there and rot while your bot is still messing around typing in form fields or fixing formatting. Solve late.
Which brings us to part 3, fix data before resolving.
I love this quote because it hits the nail right on the head. If the email is invalid, another CAPTCHA solve will not fix it. I mean, it makes sense, right? If a required field is totally missing, another CAPTCHA solve won't magically fix it. If your form keeps failing for the exact same non-CAPTCHA reason, stop the loop and fix the input. Resolving should only ever happen after the actual validation issue is fixed by your script, never, ever before.
To really get a grip on your budget, you need to separate your resolves into 2 buckets. First, you've got avoidable results. This is where a token was never actually submitted, maybe it got blocked by some client-side JavaScript, but your automation gets confused and pays to solve it again anyway. That's just throwing money out the window. Then you have consumed token results. This is when the token actually went to the server ate it, but the form failed for some other reason. Track both in your logs. It's the only way to know if you're paying for legitimate retries or just sloppy logic.
All right, part 4, retry limits and metrics.
Listen, every single form automation workflow needs a strict retry budget. Do not let it loop forever. And be warned, blind retries are incredibly risky. Think about it. If your script creates user accounts, books tickets, or places financial orders, an infinite retry loop could create a massive mess of duplicate side effects. Always use inappetency keys, run backend state checks, or even require a human operator to review things before you let a bot repeat a high-stakes action.
And that means we need to look at the metrics you actually should be tracking in production. Stop just looking at solve success. You need to track your validation failure rate. Track the token age at the exact moment of submit. Count your resolve loops per workflow instance. Log the specific reason for every retry. Track your final acceptance rate. But the absolute biggest one, measure your cost per accepted workflow, not just your cost per solve. Because let's be real, a cheap solve means absolutely nothing to your business if the form never actually goes through.
Part 5. Common mistakes to avoid.
Okay, rapid fire time. Here's our list of don'ts. Don't resolve after every single validation error. Don't solve too early in your script execution. Don't treat bad form data as a CAPTCHA rejection. Don't ignore page reloads. Remember, those reset your entire context. Don't retry unsafe submissions blindly without those idempotency checks we just talked about. And please, whatever you do, do not let your system logs casually say CAPTCHA failed when the real underlying issue was just a missing zip code on the form. Mislabeling your logs just buries the real problem.
Finally, Part 6, FAQs and final takeaway.
Yo, what's probably the #1 question developers ask when building these bots? It's this: can I reuse a token after a form error? Well, the answer is maybe. It's a bit nuanced. If a client-side validation script blocked the submission before it even hit the network and your token is still fresh, then yes, for sure, reuse it. But if that token actually traveled across the wire and the server received it, even if the server ultimately rejected your form data, that single-use token is officially consumed. You're going to need a new one.
Next question, and this is the ultimate bottom line question for technical budget owners. What is the best way to reduce wasted solves?
The strategy here is actually super straightforward once you lay it out. Solve late, literally right before you hit submit. Classify your failures properly so you aren't just guessing in the dark. Cap your retries with a hard budget, and measure your success based on the cost per accepted workflow. Do those 4 things, and I promise you, your API costs will absolutely plummet while your success rates climb.
And that brings us perfectly to the main takeaway of this whole explainer. CAPTCHA resolving after a form validation error is not just a token issue. It is a fundamental workflow design issue. Building reliable automation means stepping back and looking at the big picture, the state of the browser, the data, the network, instead of just treating CAPTCHAs like some isolated speed bump.
So I want to leave you with a bit of a challenge. Before your automated system ever triggers another retry, before you burn another fraction of a cent on a solve, force your code to ask these critical questions. Was the token actually submitted to the server? Is it still fresh? Did the page reload entirely? Was the form data even valid to begin with? And is retrying this specific action actually safe? Once your code can answer those questions dynamically, that's when your team finally graduates from that expensive solve again mentality to truly controlled, reliable automation. Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer, and I'll catch you in the next one.